Well, we're back on. Had some technical difficulties with the last video I was doing, but here we are. We're talking about the crisis in Iran, or crisis in Iran. That's funny, right? The crisis in Ukraine. And I don't want to offend anybody because I got a lot of friends. Okay, I don't want to offend nobody. And a lot of friends on both sides of the playing field. Got Russian friends, Ukrainian friends, Polish friends, Czechoslovakian friends, friends all over the place there, Romanian friends, all on that border, all on that front. But the President Zuzinski was told by Putin or asked by Putin not to allow NATO into Ukraine because he didn't want nuclear missiles pointed at Russia from Ukraine. Okay? So Zuzinski didn't want to do that. America and the rest of NATO gave Ukraine false hope, and I stated this last week, gave them false hope that NATO was going to come and save the day in Ukraine. And I stated last week, that ain't going to happen. Okay? For starters, Putin's not going to listen to NATO, and why should he? Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine, is an actor, a comedian, and once Dancing with the Star champion of Ukraine. Okay, he's leading the people. He's dressed up in camouflage fatigues, trying to move the war effort and get the people fighting in Ukraine for Ukraine and Ukraine sovereignty and everything else that goes with it, right, in Ukraine. Okay, we have a Mr. Dress Up over here called Justin Trudeau, and he's actually, he was never an actor. He was into theater, apparently. So he's a drama teacher, but he likes to dress up. Now, we'll take a step back to Iraq, 1990, 92, okay, Iraq, when Saddam Hussein dressed up in camouflage fatigues and said, oh, this is going to be the mother of all wars, okay? I'm going to be fighting on the front lines. Saddam Hussein. He looked good with a machine gun in his hand and camouflage fatigues, but he never went to the front lines. They ended up finding him in a hole somewhere, hiding in a ditch. Right, so Zelensky's bringing false hope to the people of Ukraine, unfortunately. And I feel sad for the Ukrainian people because there's a lot of good Ukrainian people that are following this guy. You know, and there's a lot of corruption in Ukraine. There always has been, okay? And a lot of people are seeing it. Now, NATO, on the other hand, are not going to enforce a no-fly zone. They already said that, and the reason for that is nobody wants to be the ones to shoot down a Russian aircraft first, because if they do, they will retaliate. And you don't want Russia retaliating, especially with Poland and any of those countries that are in there, right? So it is what it is, and it's nothing but false hope to the people. And I stated this last week. You know, it's pretty sad when you got leaders, okay, that are not leaders. And this guy here, he's trying to drum up people to go to the front line and fight for Ukraine. You're not going to win. You're going against a superpower with 6,000 nuclear heads. Okay, and who knows how far Putin will go. Putin's a madman. He can be. And we're seeing it now in Ukraine, right? But for America and NATO to put up sanctions like they did against the Russian people, and you're going to starve out the Russian people and ruin their economy. Okay, in 1992, when America was going after Iraq, they were looking for a thing called weapons of mass destruction. Now, they claim that there is weapons of mass destruction being made, nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons being made in Iraq, which were never made in Iraq, and they still haven't found any to this day. But that was the excuse to get NATO involved, right? There was never no sanctions against the United States. There was never no war crimes against the United States. Never, okay? But switch it over to Russia, now you got sanctions and you got war crimes, trying to get the war tribunal after Putin, and it's not going to work, right? He's going to do what he does, and that's what he does. And the same thing with Afghanistan. You know, they had a no-fly zone in Afghanistan. The only ones that could fly were the Americans and NATO, right? And Afghanistan wasn't even considering, you know what I mean, what was going on over there with the terrorism and ISIS and all that crap that was going on there, and the jihadiness, okay, that was going on in Afghanistan. It's a whole different scenario. Now, NATO's already said they're not going to do a no-fly zone, so I don't think NATO's going to be in Ukraine. I think Russia's going to push and push and push and move ahead, right? And can you blame them? You know, look at the price of gas right now. I drive a diesel truck. It was at $1.52 on Tuesday when I filled up. Today it's at $1.80. You think the Ukrainians will hold off the Russians? I don't know, man. I don't think so. For starters, okay, and this is what really sucks about the Ukraine conflict. Everybody knew this was happening 3 weeks ago before the Russians even landed. Now, they should have had all their gear in place, all their food, all their weaponry, everything else. Now, how are you going to get that to the people when Russia has it surrounded, right? They're going to make it very tough, right? So if they would have had everything in the beginning, and Zelensky asked for it in the beginning, and everybody said, yeah, they were going to help out, they fucking just left the guy to hang, man. They did. They did. And you know what? In no-fly zones and everything else, that don't help the Ukrainian army out at all. Because air superiority is the Russians right now, and they're the ones holding the air. Right? So you can't even get airplanes off in Ukraine right now because the airports are bombed. So it's going to be a long one, unfortunately. They have the south of Kiev and the resources and the people. Well, like I said, Putin's just starting, right? It's going to be a long battle. And it's sad. Actually, it's sad, man. But to blame a country's people, now, I don't get it at all. To make the ruble tumble the way that it did. And I know they're trying to get back at Putin, right? But now you got, 300 million Russians, 400 million Russians in Russia, okay? You're going to starve out all those people just for one person, and to get the rich after them and whatever, right? Where can you get the convoy shirts? PM me on my Facebook or on here. I'll get you guys some. But I'm looking at it from what I said last week. The government's going to use nuclear fears now that there's no more COVID. You don't hear anything about COVID anymore. It's pretty funny, eh? It's all this and that about NATO and Ukraine and everything else. And we don't hear it. We don't hear anything about COVID fears anymore. It's going to be nuclear fears. And what happened? They bombed around a nuclear power plant last night, and there was breaking mainstream garbage news. Oh, that they hit the nuclear power plant, and it's 10 times bigger than the one in Chernobyl that erupted, okay, or that blew up there, okay, and it's an environmental thing. And then you find out the truth, it never happened. Okay, it happened close, but there's no radiation leaking from this place, right? So I don't believe half the shit I'm hearing on mainstream media at all. Russia did kick out the CBC. I wonder why. As corrupt as Russia is, they could even smell the bullshit from the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation and the BBC and CNN and all of them, right? But I hope the Ukrainian people, and I wish them the best. I hope they get it down right, and Canada does start letting in Ukrainians into our country, right? Poor Poland got over 600,000 refugees in 24 hours crossing the border there, and same thing with Romania, right? So people are fleeing, and you can't blame them. Like, imagine if Trudeau came out in camouflage fatigues and said, we're gonna fight the Russians. I'd be telling Trudeau, go fuck yourself. I ain't fighting anybody, not for you, right? So I look at their leader, he's an actor, he's a comedian, he's trying to drum up the support. But they should have had everything in place, all the weaponry in the beginning, and now they're stuck without it, you know. And how are you going to get it in? That's a big question, right? So this is a short live video. It's only 10 minutes long so far. I'm into it, right? So if you want to discuss the topics of the Ukraine, I do know a lot about Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, and like I said, Romania, Czechoslovakia. Being Canadian, we have a lot of immigrants that come over from Europe, and I've got a lot of friends from that area, right? So, and it's sad. It is 100% sad. But with all that being said, it is what it is. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Adios.